This meeting is being recorded for the public record. Because of this, we request that personal conversations are kept to a minimum and that all cell phones are set to vibrate. All phone calls should be taken outside of the chambers. If you are interested in commenting during the public hearing portion of the Commission's deliberations, please sign up on the sheets located on the tables to the right of the audience. When your name is called, please step forward to the podium and state your name and address for the record. Please address your comments to the board and not to the staff or to the petitioner. Your comments should relate directly to the case at hand. During the conduct of the public hearing portion of the Commission's deliberations, the petitioner will have 10 minutes to present their case to the Commission. Remonstrators will have 10 minutes to present objections to the petition. Persons in support of the petition, other than the petitioner, will have 10 minutes total to present support for the petition. Finally, the petitioner will close the public hearing portion of the presentation with a 5-minute rebuttal period. Once the public hearing is closed, no additional testimony will be heard unless it is solicited by members of the Commission during the question and answer phase of the Commission's deliberations. Subdivision plat and development plan petitions are ministerial requests, meaning that if the proposal meets the requirements set forth in the town's development ordinances, the Plan Commission must approve the request. In the interest of transparency, state law requires that the Plan Commission hold a public hearing even if the development proposal must be approved. Responses to public comments and questions may be given once the public hearing portion is closed. We understand there may be several persons who wish to speak tonight. In order to keep the meeting running in a timely fashion, we would request that you not repeat previous comments. Thank you for your assistance in facilitating a respectful, fair, and timely meeting. Again, welcome to our meeting, and please stand for the pledge. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. Let's do a roll call.
Greg Zuzan.
Present.
Paul Guggenberger.
Here.
Catherine Ransberg.
Here.
Dave Kaufman.
Here.
Bill Reed.
Here.
Andrew Rockerbrand.
Here.
Jennifer Spencer.
Here. And we have a full quorum tonight. Moving on to the next agenda item, approval of the meeting minutes from October 27th. Has everyone had an opportunity to review those meeting minutes? And are there any questions, edits, changes, objection to the font? Any? If not, I'll recommend I'll take a motion.
I'll make that motion to approve that October 27th, 2025 Advisory Plan Commission meeting minutes as presented.
Second.
Having heard a second and a motion and a second, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Meeting, any opposed? Meeting minutes are approved. Okay, we are now moving on to the public comment section of tonight's meeting. This is an opportunity for the people who are present to speak about anything that's not already on tonight's agenda. If you want to speak about something that's on tonight's agenda, then you will have an opportunity at that time. But if there's something else you'd like to talk to or address the commission about, too many chicken restaurants, anything like that, this is the opportunity to come forward. Is there anybody who'd like to come and speak about anything that's not on tonight's agenda? Okay, having no one step forward, the public hearing comment, our public comment section is now closed. Requests for continuances or agenda modifications.
We do not have any.
Okay. Moving on to old business, we now are going to address the amended Town of Avon Comprehensive Plan update. Yes, go ahead, please.
All right. My name is Rachel Christensen. I work with HWC Engineering and have been working with the town of Avon for a little over a year now on the comprehensive plan update. We did take this to the town council, not last month, but the month before for consideration. And there were some recommended changes that they wanted the plan commission to consider. There was some land use, there were some amendments to the future land use map that they wanted to see. I believe you guys have what those amendments are in your packet. And I think if there's any questions on that, I'm happy to answer those. And I'm sure Linda would be happy to talk through that as well. So with that, I think, Catherine, I'm not sure, because I wasn't at your last meeting I don't think it was discussed at the last meeting, but I just want to confirm.
It was not.
No? Okay. I guess, is there any more details about what the proposed amendments are that you guys should be considering tonight, or would you like more information?
I have staff comment for you too.
Okay. Go ahead and have a seat.
Okay.
It's on.
I got it. Just tell me when.
Okay. No, I got it. Okay, if you recall, you saw the comprehensive plan at your August 25th, 2025 meeting where you made a favorable recommendation of the comp plan as it was presented with a 6-0 vote to the town council. This was after a public presentation of the plan in July prior to this meeting, the August 25th meeting. Then on October 9th, 2025, the town council voted to return the comprehensive plan to you for reconsideration with a change made to the future land use map. I just want to know, once you make a decision tonight, what happens? If the commission approves the amendment tonight, the comprehensive plan will stand as approved after your vote. If the commission disapproves the amendment stands only if the town council makes a second resolution to adopt it with their changes at a future meeting of the town council. And then ultimately, whenever it's passed, either tonight or at a future town council meeting, it must be recorded with the Hendricks County Recorder's Office. The location of the proposed change from the town council was the areas outlined here in white. The blue dot in the middle of the white circle is the new middle school. So it's areas surrounding that to the west, to the south, and to the north. And I've highlighted those changes on this map that you have in your packet. So everything outlined in white, the proposal from town council would be to take that area to agriculture on the future land use map. Our staff comment on the change is that we would point out to you that the agricultural recommendation in the plan does recommend agriculture, but it also goes on to say that should the area be serviced with sewer and water, that the residential recommendation should be considered. So the immediate recommendation for the area that was shown to you would be agriculture. It would not have to be that forever should sewer and water be serviced to the properties. And then ultimately knowing that any change to zoning of the property they would have to file a rezoning petition and would have to be approved by town council in order for any residential development to be approved. So with that, we are suggesting approval of the comp plan with the changes made by town council. And I'd be happy to answer any questions you have.
Questions for staff?
In the existing comp plan, we already have it listed as agricultural, is that true?
The comp plan shows I think all of that is agricultural, except for maybe the top two properties aren't within, those blobs. It just doesn't have a recommendation.
Linda, was this area the part of the area where we were talking about estate lots? And then we had a lot of discussion around having the estate lot designation. And wasn't that this part of this area or this area?
I don't recall. Do you recall?
I believe the estate lots, is that your 5 acres per
Yeah.
dwelling unit? Yes. And I think the discussion was that it would not be the estate lots, that as it was moving forward, that there would be a little bit more density in that area. I would say gentle density, something that's appropriate and was going to be comparable or compatible to adjacent properties that had already been developed. So I think that was what I remember from the discussions from the steering committee.
Okay.
So how much,
Are these lots currently agricultural?
Let me double check before I answer that. They are all zoned agricultural currently. The school is not, but everything else is.
So regardless of the comprehensive plan, they would have to go through rezoning.
Correct. Correct.
Yeah, this is just a land use map. Anything that goes there is going to have to get rezoned.
Correct.
And this is a proposed vision. This isn't zoning, this isn't plating, this is just a proposed recommendation for future use.
Correct.
how much discussion was there at town council on this? Was it a pretty contentious meeting or was it was pretty simple?
I wouldn't say the word contentious, just that some thought that the area should be ag and they voted for the change. It wasn't a unanimous vote.
Okay. So the committee went through a pretty extensive process of creating this proposed land map. And my view of this is that we've gone through the process, we voted for it unanimously, and this is, again, not rezoning, but what sense does it make to have a school in the middle of a farm field? I never planned to put
If I could have you put a pin on that, because we need to hear from remonstrators before we have discussion.
okay, I'm sorry.
So, I mean, we all want to hear what you have to
Okay,
say on this.
We'll talk
but-
later.
Yeah, so if we could get through that process. So petitioners finished with your presentation? Okay. Is there anybody here who would like to speak out against this proposed future land use?
We have 3 signed in.
3 signed in?
I think these 2 are for Chase Bank, actually.
Okay, who is the first person?
So I think, obviously, if anybody wants to speak, they can get up, but I think 2 people signed up here are actually here for Chase Bank. So we have Shri Kulkarni
Okay,
signed up to speak in opposition.
absolutely. If you could come forward, sure. Sir, excuse me, long day. If you could state your name and address, please.
Yeah, Sri Kulkarni, 5109 West Neptune Way, Tampa, Florida.
Okay, go ahead.
The green light on.
It's on, yeah. Good afternoon. Thank you for the opportunity to talk to you about my property. So I own this, the bulk of this property in question at the southwest corner, 450 and 150, right? That surrounds the middle school. So most of what I'm going to talk about, I think that you guys have heard through a letter that I sent, and hopefully they distributed it. I think that they said that they were going to. So yeah, exactly. So some of this is going to come for the second time, but I think it's really important to understand. So we've owned this property for 21 years, pay taxes. For most of that time, I would agree with the perspective that this is an agricultural piece of dirt. For most of that time, I do think a couple meaningful changes have happened. A, there's a new middle school. The middle school has 1,200 kids that go to it. It's a meaningful investment. The second one, and I think that you guys all know this, is that there's utilities going through. So there's a sewer line that I just signed the paperwork for. It's a 15-inch main that's going to go through my property and connect to my neighbor to the west and go north. My neighbor, Ken Edmondson, who's been farming my property for a long time, annexed into Danville. So his property is going to be commercial and industrial. That's what Danville wants for his piece of property. So it's just not fair. My annexation was an involuntary annexation. So basically, even though I'm the majority landholder in this area by acreage, so I own 120 acres, we sold the 80 acres to the school back in the day. They annexed my property without my permission, and there's some way to do that under state law. In spite of all that, I still would have agreed and said it's not the right time. Things have meaningfully changed. And as the Planning Commission board here, your job is to plan, right? Is to think about the future, take all of the variables into consideration, right? Not just the 8 or 10 people who live around this property, the entire town of Avon. Houses are overpriced. People are struggling to pay and make their down payments. This is an opportunity to potentially put a 120 acres into service for a potential use as residential. I looked at every other middle school in Avon. There's not a single other middle school that's not surrounded by commercial or residential, not a single one. This would be the first one. I don't know, I could go on and on. Like my letter says it all. There's just is no, in my perspective, no legitimate reason that this piece of property, given all of the facts that you guys all know, should stay residential. Now, why it's important, right? I think a comment was made. You still have to go through the rezoning process. Part of the rezoning process requires you to look into whether it matches the comprehensive plan. So if I come to city council down the road, there's new city council members, they're going to look at this comprehensive plan and say, does it match what, the comprehensive plan said 3, 4, 5 years ago, or 2, 3 years ago, or 7, 8 years ago, whatever it is. Council members may have changed. This is still a barrier to development. And, it's a meaningful barrier. So I know that I still have to go in front of town council to get this rezoned. At the right time, with the right team. We're absolutely willing to do what it takes. There's buffers. There's all kinds of things you can do to make the neighbors feel better about the development. But net of it all, is this a residential property on the comprehensive plan, or is this an agricultural property? I just can't understand how it continues to say ag from a comprehensive plan perspective. All of the ingredients are there. Utilities being, like I said, one of the most important, the fact that there's a middle school. You have public improvements on the roadways. So I don't know, all things being equal, I think this is a great opportunity to help all of Avon find good housing and produce the right plan moving forward. So happy to answer questions if you have them for me, but.
Thank you.
Thanks.
We'll take questions if there's any afterwards. Is there anybody else who has signed up to speak out against this proposal? There's not. Okay. Is there anybody who would like to stand up to speak for the proposal? Okay. Would the petitioner care to remonstrate? You don't have to, but.
Good. No, because I feel like I'm in an awkward spot because I am representing the town, of course. You guys had hired us to prepare this. So we are the author of your plan and happy to make the changes that the community or the town wants. So thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Can I ask a question?
Yes, yeah, I think we.
Before we go, can you remind us of the discussion, if you remember, that was had around this? Because it's land use, not zoning. It's
Right.
currently zoned agriculture. This is a future land use plan. Can you help us with your memory of this discussion of this area?
Yeah, and we did have several discussions about this particular area. I think there was a couple times we went back and forth on this. We talked about even removing agriculture as a future land use classification as part of this planning process. We ultimately sat on that for a minute. When we came back as a group, the steering committee decided that that was not the direction we wanted to go as a community yet. So we brought that agricultural classification back. We thought that that could be a good placeholder for some properties that truly weren't ready for, a true residential designation quite yet. So we moved forward with that direction. However, in this particular area, there was a lot of discussion around the utilities and that the school had kind of changed what that landscape looked like in that area, that it could be an appropriate time to change that future land use classification to the residential. And that is, I think, where the steering committee ended up on with their thoughts on it, and was ultimately presented to this commission a couple months ago.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Discussion. Go ahead and let you pick up where you left off.
All right,
Sorry.
yeah, so it was a year of process going through, trying to find this. We had lots of discussions about this area as part of the steering committee. And with the greenway and everything that's roughly going through that area, it's a little bit farther east, but, and the school there, the thoughts were very clear that it makes sense to have housing around the school. That way people can walk to school, all those kinds of things. So I would disagree that we should move this back to agricultural. I think the discussion was had and was overwhelmingly believed that this should be considered long-term eventually, because this plan is roughly a 10-year look ahead, that this would be an appropriate location for residential housing. And so I think that was very clear in the committee recommendation.
Any more discussion? Other thoughts, comments?
I'm just going to add to what Andrew said, because that's what I remember the discussion was too, that the land use, not the zoning of this area, would be residential because of looking at the school and what we were looking at in the future. So, and to the point that, yeah, I mean, we got out of this and it was unanimous approval of the comp plan. So, does it make sense? I think from a land use, from a citizen, I'd be going, if I got to do a rezone, does it really matter what it is? But this is looking forward of what we're projecting, would like to see there. So I agree with Andrew. I mean, we looked at this as being residential in that area for land use.
I just want to clarify with staff. So it's currently zoned agricultural, correct? Zoned agricultural, correct?
I just want to clarify my statement. It is all agricultural except for these smaller lots right in here, which are R1. But
Oh.
yes, everything outlined in white is agricultural.
And that will not change if the proposed land use is made residential, correct?
Correct,
So it will still be agriculturally zoned.
correct.
And this is just saying, in the future, we think this is the best use of this land.
Correct. Again, I want to point out the way the future land use matrix section of the comp plan is written, where it says, yes, agriculture, but should water and sewer, not just sewer, but water and sewer utilities be made available, then residential should be considered. So it doesn't close the door on residential per se.
And we understand that sewer is going through right now, is that correct?
Correct. Not all of the properties. But
Yeah.
there is a sewer line going in.
Any questions or further discussion, thoughts about this?
Well, so Linda, I'm going to ask you because it is land use. So what, from a planning perspective here, the idea of supporting going to agriculture versus residential from planning director, what's your thoughts on why do that instead of where we landed when we did the comp plan?
Well, I think my voice in the comp plan process all along was that it should stay agriculture until sewer and water is available. So whether it's yellow on the map or whether it's brown on the map, I don't think it should be rezoned until the utilities are in. And we should-
Rezoned. But we're talking about land use.
Right. So if anybody wanted to develop it, and it was without water and sewer lines, then which should stay ag, which is the direction of this change would go. And then should water and sewer become available, then I think it's reasonable to consider residential development.
Any more discussion?
Linda, could it be worded like that on the plan?
On the map? So the wording in the document already says that, yes, it's agricultural. Immediately, we see this remaining ag. Then, if water and sewer are made available, then it says, stop looking at this section, go and look at the residential section. The residential section then goes on to say, all right, you have to have sewer and water. Is there commercial nearby? What kind of lots would be best served near school? There's a lot of criteria that are there. So the guide of the document, from a planning point of view, I don't think this change would impact how we would analyze a petition should it come in. If it didn't have water and sewer, we should say this should stay ag.
So this is a little, I won't say unorthodox, but out of routine. Mr. Kulkarni is raising his hand out there. We've closed the public section, the public comment section on this hearing. Does anybody object to Mr. Kulkarni coming forward and speaking some more? We don't normally do this, but is anybody object at all?
I don't.
Mr. Kulkarni, you can come forward.
I'll keep this really brief, but there is water there too. Obviously, the school, as it was developed, has needed water service. This 15-inch trunk line is a major line. So yeah, there's both sets of utilities available to the property today. I think that's an important point.
Thank you. So if this land was just, had not been previously, if you were just looking at it brand new and had not been previously agricultural, knowing that there's a school there and we have utilities going through, what would be the recommended future land use, would you say?
The recommended land use would be residential if those factors were all in place.
Okay.
I do have another question for you, Linda, that was this amendment communicated to the entire steering committee? Because we had representation from a lot of different areas in Avon, or was it only sent to the Plan Commission?
I did send an email out to the steering committee after to suggest these changes. So it did go out to, I did say that there were recommended changes that was going back to the Plan Commission.
Did you receive any response back to that?
I did, I believe Nick Anderson had emailed me back. He just had some questions about process on, and he watched the meeting and, but I wouldn't say that there was any direct feedback on the decision.
From the schools or Jeff Banning or?
Jeff Banning was at the meeting, the town council meeting, but I don't want to speak for him.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Catherine, could I just wanted to elaborate on something that Linda said. I think she makes a really good point in that when she says it's the entire comp plan that is the factor that has to be considered during a rezone. It is not just the map. And as you know, the land use is not a small document. The comp plan is a pretty big document.
Right.
It's got analysis in it, it articulates reasoning. And most people, when they appear before you for recommendation and the town council for a rezone, they just look at that map and they show you that map sometimes. And that is a gross oversimplification of the analysis required by you when you make recommendations and to the town council. I don't hear this much, but it's a great point that she makes. You can do that with what you want, but that's really worth noting is that the value of your comprehensive plan is not the maps it creates. It's the entire thing. And so much work goes into it. So this very subtle, I would call it nuance about when we might look at areas differently when they are served by utilities is really important. And I'm not sure that tells you which way to go on this, your decision. I'm saying that this drives home the point that you're adopting a very important document. It's about much more than any map that's in there.
Thanks for pointing that out. And we had a development proposal, multiple development proposals for the land behind Costco. And that, on the last comprehensive plan, that was originally considered to be something like healthcare or something different.
I think you're talking about Beechwood.
Or Beechwood, yes, yes. And the original comp plan for that was totally different, but things around, or educational, I think it was supposed to be.
Right, because of the educational
But
stuff.
the circumstances changed. Was it DeVry that was there pulled out, and suddenly it wasn't what we thought was going to be an educational hub, suddenly was not. And so what we've looked at for that has not been what the comprehensive plan recommended 10 years ago, because things change. And I think the fact that it is still and thank you for pointing out, this is much more than just that bit of acreage. It's about all of Avon and everything that we're planning for Avon, including our parks and our work, live area and everything else. When this property is developed, and I have no doubt that, especially with the school being there and utilities going in, it will be developed, then we will address the rezoning there at that time. And for whatever reason, the town council has decided they want that to remain agricultural. And that's not going to stop that property from being developed as far as the future land use mass is
It will
concerned.
though, because the council has to approve that rezoning, right?
Council would have to approve that rezoning.
So I'm sure when the council says, oh, we don't want to rezone this because our comprehensive map says it's supposed to be agricultural, they'll use that. So if this map is not that big a deal, why didn't it just go through as it was? Because you're not you're not rezoning that property, you're just approving the comprehensive plan. I think this is I do not agree with this comprehensive plan modification at all. And I think I think it's crazy that it's coming back for us. If it's so inconsequential, this map, why is it coming back to us?
So one of the things that, Dan brought up, it's a big plan. And this amendment's a very focused amendment. And I don't disagree with what you're saying, Andrew. It's like our job is planning. We make a recommendation to the council. The council is responsible for the vision and the execution of the town. So where our job is just to pass them a recommendation. And we're planning, and we should be doing our job of planning 10, 20, 30 years out for what we're looking for the development of Avon. Because if you've heard me over time, I'm sitting there going, all Washington Township should be Avon. If you got an Avon address, why wouldn't you want to be part of the town of Avon? That's the planning part. The execution's up to the town council members. So I'm having a hard time with this amendment also, recommendation of very small area, very small part of the overall plan that we spent better part of a year on putting together. And a lot of discussion around land use, getting it beat into our heads, on it's not zoning, it's land use. It's a forecast of what we're looking to do.
Bill, Dave, do you have any thoughts?
I do like that the verbiage behind it says that once water and sewer is there, that it should be considered for residential. So there's at least the verbiage that says that should be considered. So. And I do agree, when you're looking at the whole plan, this is a very small piece, but.
Bill?
I just kind of see this as a placeholder situation that's kind of been brought up this evening that, at such time as someone is interested in the area, it's going to be subject to rezone. So there's going to be another step in there regardless. So, and again, the verbiage is key, and I think that verbiage is pretty solid. So, as stated.
Jennifer?
I agree. I like the verbiage being in there. I think that's helpful for any future plans.
Greg, any thoughts?
Well, I agree. I mean, I don't like the rationale being just on one piece of it, but then I have to go back and look at the whole presentation. We have 160 some pages here of documentation, and we're focused on one piece of it. That piece, as the old comp plan is in place today, is agricultural. We've had many pieces of land out there that are zoned agricultural that have to come to us and get rezoned. And they put commercial on it, they put residential on it, they put industrial on it. So that's a process that's in place. So I think, and I like the staff's comment on the language. I don't disagree, the utilities are out there. But they're going to have to find a buyer, which they probably have. They're going to have to come back, and it's going to have to get rezoned, no matter if it's the old plan or the new plan. So I'm fine to leave it as agricultural, because I'm looking at the whole comp plan, not just one specific component of it.
I think that's a good point too. I don't know it'd be interesting to go back and look at rezonings that we've approved. And I can recall several where we talked about, well, the comprehensive plan doesn't say this, but surrounding this area are these businesses, and decisions were made based on that as well. So I think we've had other instances where we considered those other.
Any further discussion or thoughts?
Yeah, sorry, I'm going to keep asking about this. So I'm looking for the language. Is there really a language change other than residential to agriculture? Because I'm reading this as comments, not as the language.
So the change would be a change to the future land use map. The area outlined in white on the staff report would be changed to agriculture.
Okay, so there'll be no detail in there around when utilities are brought to that.
That's already in there. That's been in there.
Okay. And I'm trusting you because my memory is as of yesterday.
Did you
Okay.
sleep since then?
But a motion can be as simple as to accept the amendment from the town council or to reject it. That's really the motion. That's your job. Those are the words the statute uses: to accept the amendment proposed by the town council or to reject it. You don't have to be much more elaborate. Would you agree, Linda? I think they can.
I do have one last question because we do need to move on. How much weight does the comprehensive plan play in terms of, or should play, let's say 5 years from now, someone comes forward and wants to develop that as some kind of a mid-density or low-density residential, which is in an area that is both zoned and on the comprehensive plan as agriculture. How much weight would that or should that carry with the plan?
Well, remember there are 5 factors that you are supposed to consider in the town council in a rezone. None of them are more important than any of the other factors. Your job and the town council's job is to deal with the totality of the circumstances using those 5 factors, but there's no one that's more important. there's no law that says the older a comprehensive plan gets, the less weight it carries. But I think as a practical matter, in this room over 20 years, we've heard things like that. The other thing I would say is we really should replace this comprehensive plan in about 5 years anyway, because the changes that you've heard about tonight, and Mr. Kulkarni makes a good point, as change occurs, and I remember when almost all this town was agricultural. And David's right, there have been a lot of rezones and all kinds of things because the town has changed a lot. But so I think the best way to think about it is that we're not supposed to give special weight to any of the 5 factors. It's just part of the consideration. And then both you and the town council are supposed to use your discretion in making rezone decisions to do what is right. And the law does give wide discretion. It's one of the few things the law gives wide discretion on. And the law says it's a legislative decision. It is not a zoning decision. It's a legislative decision in terms
And
of
this
it.
is a legislative body.
So I was going to say, just like adopting a comprehensive plan is a legislative decision, so is the zoning ordinance, and so are rezones and PUDs. So broad discretion, do what's right, consider the statutory factors, giving no one factor more weight than the other.
Any more discussion?
Yeah, I gotta ask a question now because of what Mr. Taylor said. So going back to Linda, so it seems like there's 3 prongs to this. The planning staff, if you're brand new to a town, you depend on that comp plan to help with when you look at cases. I'm assuming, I know you do, because when we get your staff reports, you reference a comp plan. So if you're brand new to the town, and we've had several planning directors since I've been on the commission, you got to rely on the comp plan to help with what was intended there. Would you agree to that?
As a planning director new to the town, I would heavily rely on the comprehensive plan.
Okay. And that's
Depending
where,
on its age.
and then our job is, as a plan commission, pass on recommendations to town council would be to look at your staff report and weigh all the criterion, and add any evaluation. I know if we would disagree with the recommendation, we would state why we would disagree with that. Mr. Taylor would make sure we do that to get that on record so that the council would have full information to execute the plan, that the council would see of whether to take our recommendation or to reject our recommendation. So I'm going back to our job is planning, make that recommendation, and then the council has the option, and that's their job, is that the right vision and for the outcome or what we want for the town. But ours is a recommendation. So that's why I'm like, the comp plan is important, because the planning staff relies on that.
But again, we don't just rely on the future land use map. We rely almost more heavily on the text of the document and what it says.
Yeah, I will agree. My last comment on this is everybody knows this is going to be raised, is not going to be maintaining agricultural. We know it's all going to go residential. All the utilities are going out there. Everybody on this commission knows that this is going to go residential. But for some reason, we can't say that. And I think that's inappropriate. So that's my final comment.
Anybody else have anything to say or add? Staff, anybody? Okay, then we would take a motion on this.
I move that we reject the town council's revision to CPA 2501, Plan Avon, an amendment to the town council comprehensive plan, since it would not satisfactorily meet the town's objectives, accommodate new growth, and adapt to new circumstances while promoting the public health, safety, morals, and convenience, order, and general welfare of the town.
Second.
Having had a motion and a second, we'll now take a vote. Reminder, this is a motion to reject the proposed amendment asked for by the town.
Rockabran,
4,
Spencer,
4.
Reed,
Against.
Kaufman,
Against.
Ransberg,
Against.
Guckenberger,
4.
Zuzen.
Against.
Okay, the motion to reject the amendment has been defeated 4-3. Do we now entertain a second motion? We need to have a motion on the approval of the recommended changes. Having no motion, I guess this goes forward to the town with no recommendation. Would that be correct?
Not an option.
Not an option.
You have to reject it or accept it. If you don't take any action within 60 days of the certification, then the amendment is accepted by default.
Is,
So if you take no action, the amendment is going to be accepted.
anybody? Okay.
Before we move on, yeah, I would look to my fellow commission members that rejected the rejection. Make an amendment or make a motion to approve it. Please. I mean, that seems to be the position, so let's move forward with the business.
Make a motion. I move that we approve the town council's revision to CPA 2501, Plan Avon, and amendment to the town of Avon's comprehensive plan, since it would satisfactorily meet the town's objectives, accommodate new growth, and adapt new circumstances while promoting the public health, safety, morals, convenience, order, and general welfare of the town.
I'll second.
Having had a motion and a second, we'll now take a vote. This is a vote to approve the amendment requested by the town to the comprehensive plan.
Kaufman, Reed,
4.
Spencer,
Against.
Rockabran,
Against.
Zuzen,
4.
Guckenberger,
Against?
Ransberg,
4. Motion carries. The amendment to the Avon Comprehensive Plan is now being forwarded to the town for approval. Yes.
I just wanted to say thank you guys for working with us on this comprehensive plan. I really have enjoyed the steering committee and just listening to the plan commission discussion. You guys are really thoughtful and mindful about your community, and you don't see that quite at that level everywhere that I've worked. So nice job, you guys, and keep up the good work.
Can we hire her, please? Okay, moving on. We now move on to new business. Chase Bank, Avon Avenue, DPR 2516.
Thank you, President Ransberg. Members of the commission, DPR 2516 for Chase Bank on Avon Avenue is a request for a development plan review to allow for redevelopment of that site, which would consist of demolition of the existing improvements and construction of a new bank building with 2 drive-through ATM lanes, surface parking, and related improvements. The property consists of 3 platted lots that were platted back in the 1970s. There's 2 of them are addressed along US 36, and one is addressed along Galen Drive to the south. Interestingly, the bank actually has a mailing address of 29 South Avon Avenue. It's the southeast corner of 36 and Avon. You can see it on the map here. 36 running east and west, Avon Avenue running north and south. It's these three lots at the southeast corner. It's zone C2. It is in mostly tier 1, a little bit of the south end of the property, and tier 2 of the US 36 zoning overlay. This is facing south from US 36 at the existing bank. That's facing east from Avon Avenue. That's facing north, back towards kind of the back of the building. You can see the drive-through that exists with, I believe there's 6 actual lanes, or is it 5? Most of them under a canopy there. And then this is looking south from the property. There's a south parking lot on that southern parcel that's part of the bank property. And that's looking south towards Galen Drive with Avon Avenue to the right. I mentioned it's zone C2 and in the 36 overlay. It was platted back in the 70s. The existing bank was constructed in 1979. And the Board of Zoning Appeals last month approved a special exception for the drive-through lanes that would be proposed with the new bank building. Along with the development plan review request is one waiver request. It's a waiver of, actually it's a development standard, that's my mistake, not a design standard, but it'd be a waiver of development standards of Chapter 6 of the UDO, the lighting section, to provide for an average parking lot lighting level that exceeds the maximum level allowed. I'll talk about that in just a minute. Just kind of running you through the background here. This is the proposed site plan. So again, the US 36 would be here to the north, Avon Avenue to the south, or I'm sorry, Avon Avenue to the west, Galen Drive to the south. And you can see here's the proposed building, which is in a similar location to the existing building. It'd be a little bit farther south, so you can have parking in front of the building here, which the current bank doesn't have. And then there would be 2 drive-up lanes that are both proposed just for ATMs. Certainly one positive aspect of the redevelopment would be the existing curb cut right here that's too close to the intersection, doesn't meet standards for separation from this intersection, would go away. Property would still be accessed. We have access from US 36 with a shared driveway with the oil change facility to the east, and then they'd also keep this access point on Galen Drive to the south. This is a look at the landscape plan. I'm going to touch on one issue with landscaping in a moment. There's the proposed building elevations. This is the north elevation facing US 36, the south elevation, and then the west elevation facing Avon Avenue, and then the backside facing the drive-throughs. I will point out there was an additional waiver that was requested initially, which would have been a waiver of design standards related to the architectural standards that require 30 or 35, I think 35% glazing along the front facade. So that's basically clear glass. Well, it doesn't have to be clear actually, but they have added these windows, which actually would be spandrel glass, so you can't necessarily see through that, but from a distance it gives an appearance of windows, which improves the appearance of the facade. So by adding that, they were able to withdraw the waiver request for not meeting the required amount of glazing on the front of the building. This is the north half of the photometric plan, which is where they show us how much the property is going to be lit up. So it's a little complicated. Obviously not going to go into every number on here, but each of these numbers that you see throughout here, and so this is the edge of the parking lot, and so the waiver request relates to just the paved areas. So all of these numbers in here represent amount of foot candles of light at a particular point along the pavement. And so what the ordinance allows is a maximum average parking lot lighting level of 1.6 foot candles. The reason that we regulate the maximum amount of lighting is, I'd say, for a couple reasons. One, to prevent glare and light spillage onto other properties or onto the right of way. That's not an issue in this case because we also have a standard for the amount of light that can spill across a property line. They're meeting the ordinance as far as that goes. The other reasons we regulate the maximum level of lighting that you can have on a parking lot is to prevent light pollution into the sky so that we can maintain some semblance of dark skies so that people can enjoy looking at the sky and seeing stars at night and not seeing or not being unable to see the night sky. The other reason is to prevent stark contrast between one property and adjacent property or the roadway, so that if you look at a property and it's overlit and it's too bright, and then you look back at the road, it's harder to adjust to the lower light level. So those are kind of the reasons why we typically regulate maximum parking lot lighting level. And so if you just, I know it's kind of hard to probably read these numbers, but the petitioner is going to, I mean, I don't want to speak for the petitioner, but based on the conversations we've had and what they've submitted with their proposed findings, they've indicated that they believe the reason that they need a waiver is that the areas around the ATMs and by the front door, where there's apparently also going to be a walk-up 24-hour ATM, is to provide additional security there. They initially started out at a proposed lighting level of, I believe it was 2.4, 2.3, somewhere in there. They brought it down a little bit. They've actually submitted 2 revised plans. I believe their most recent plan, this one, actually I can skip ahead and show you. Yeah, 2.01 is what they're now proposing. So it's about 25% above the 1.6 standard. But I'm going to go through the findings, but well, I think I should do that, and then we can come back to take a look at those plans. Everything around this is retail. The comprehensive plan land use map recommends neighborhood retail for this parcel and all sides of the US 36 and Avon Avenue intersection. As far as the development plan review goes, the plans meet all elements of the UDO except for the waiver, which of course we're going to keep talking about. And then there's one issue with the landscape plan, that it doesn't appear to clearly demonstrate compliance with the required amount of interior parking lot landscaping. A waiver has not been requested for that. That item was pointed out at the technical advisory committee meeting. The response that came back still didn't clearly demonstrate to us that they were meeting that standard. So we would suggest that any approval tonight be conditioned on submission of a revised landscape plan. And we think that's reasonable for you to go forward with that being addressed with a revised plan submitted later for staff to review. So in regards to the waiver, you have 5 findings that you need to believe are met in order to grant a waiver. The first being that it's not detrimental to public health, safety, and welfare. The petitioner indicated that it's due to additional security lighting that's fully contained within the property. However, as I mentioned, one of the reasons we have maximum lighting level is to preserve dark skies, as well as to avoid harsh contrast and lighting levels between adjacent sites and along with between sites and public rights of way. The second finding is that the proposal is harmonious with the purpose and intent of the zoning district in which it's located. The petitioner indicates that the site complies with the maximum foot candle average allowance, as well as spillage across property lines. We would agree, as I already mentioned, that it doesn't violate the amount of light spillage over the property line. We don't have a standard for what the overall site lighting can be just for the parking lot area. But we believe that even exclusive of the areas that they're trying to light up by the ATMs, we think that what they're proposing in the parking lot is excessive and could be modified to meet the standard. The third required finding, that it enhances the overall development plan, abutting streetscapes and neighborhoods and surrounding area. Again, the petitioner cites the lighting of the after hours ATM areas for safety. I'm sorry, I have that duplicated on there. Again, we don't have an issue with additional lighting at the ATM areas. We just think that the lighting in the rest of the parking lot could be reduced to meet our standard. The fourth finding being that it doesn't produce a site design that's impractical or detracts from the appearance of the proposed development. Kind of similar responses from both the petitioner and staff. Oops. And finally, the fifth finding that you're required to find is met is that the proposal provides improved site design characteristics, such as increased pedestrian connections, enhanced landscaping, tree preservation, or public art. Again, the petitioner cites safety. We just disagree that the need for the waiver is due to the additional level of lighting provided at the ATMs. We believe that the number and intensity of fixtures could be adjusted. So that might mean, I'm not sure how many light fixtures they have proposed, but if they have 10, maybe they have one less, or maybe they have more, but they turn down the intensity so that they can get a better coverage of every area without it being excessive. Just going back to these plans, and again, I don't want to go into too much on here unless there are questions, but when you look at these plans, and staff did analyze this and look at all of these numbers through all of the paved areas here. So this is parking lot and parking area in front of the building, drive aisle wrapping around a parking lot on the west side of the building. And then this parking lot, so you pick up here and continue down to this extra parking lot to the south. And remembering that our maximum average is 1.6, you see most of these numbers appear to exceed 1.6. There's some areas over here where it's, below 1, but you have extensive areas over here that are lit up well over 2, sometimes over 3. And you have that same condition on the front, not just here where the 24-hour ATM entrance would be, but around the west here. You have plenty of areas that are lit up well over 2-foot candles. So in our analysis, we found that even not counting the areas right in front of the north entrance or where the drive-up ATMs are, they still would exceed the maximum parking lot lighting level of 1.6. So for all those reasons, we do recommend denial of the waiver request. We would recommend approval of the development plan review subject to the 5 conditions here and that were outlined in your staff report. Number 1 is the submission of a revised landscape plan, as mentioned earlier, to make sure that they comply with the interior parking lot landscaping requirements. Number 2 would be necessary if you deny the waiver. If you were to approve the waiver, then we wouldn't need number 2, because number 2 would require submission of a revised lighting plan to comply with the ordinance. And then 3, 4, and 5 are the standard conditions that you typically see. And with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions the commission may have.
So if I'm hearing you correctly, if we're parsing out the different areas of the plan, there's no objection to having extra light for security at the ATMs, at the entrance, that sort of thing. The objection appears to be, for instance, that south parking lot. This is a business that would only be open till, I believe, 5 o'clock. Is that correct? 5 or 6 o'clock, the building would be. So the objection would be to have that there's too much lighting on areas like the southern parking lot that is not necessary. Would that be correct?
Correct. It's not that we object to them lighting the other areas of the lot. It's just that many of those areas exceed the maximum average. And again, it's intended to be an average because you're not going to have, the same lighting throughout. That would be impossible to do. But yeah, we do believe that there are so many areas of the lot that aren't near the ATMs that exceed the average, that if they brought those areas down, they could bring the overall average down and comply with the ordinance.
Just out of curiosity, if this was a restaurant or a retail shop that was open till 9 o'clock, would the standard be different if that
No.
business? So it's the same whether this is a business that closes at 5 or closes at 9?
Correct. Yeah, it has no bearing on how late they're open or how early they close.
Okay,
The lighting standard is meant to provide adequate lighting for a site that's in use.
okay. Questions for staff? Okay, petitioner can come forward. Please state your name and address.
Yeah. My name is Chad Mays. I'm with Kimley Horn Associates located at 500 East 96th Street, Suite 300 in Indianapolis, Indiana. I'm here with Ken Colander with Chase, Amy Ferguson with the Architects Partnership. She's the architect for the project, and my colleague Colin Nikowski to request, thank you. There it goes. Okay, thank you. Yeah, to request approval for the development plan and minor plat, which is a separate item on the agenda, but trying to save some time for everyone and not go through a slideshow twice. That I think Paul and Linda are very thorough, and that he did a great job of explaining the project. Southeast corner of Avon Avenue and US 36. Little Valvoline to the east there to better establish yourself. Yes, and as noted, it is a proposed bank on 1.17 acres, currently zoned C2 in the Tier 1 US 36 overlay with 33 spaces. Here's the site plan that Paul went over thorough. Avon Avenue is on the west side, 36 is on the north, and Galleon is on the south. You can see parking on the north side, east is the ATM, and then the west is also parking as well as the south with the refuse areas down there at the trash area down at the south. The plat will take the 3 lots and put them into one. That'll be part of the secondary plat that'll get recorded, but this is the overall primary plat that you're looking at here on this screen. Here's the zoomed in version of the north elevation with the materials shown. This will be the main entrance facing US 36. And this will be the east side, the side that faces the Valvoline where the ATMs will be. And then the west side facing Avon Avenue. And here's the south elevation, which I would consider back a house where utilities will come into the building. And then this is the list of materials showing compliance with the ordinance. And then this is the photometric plan. Just wanted to point out again that Paul hit on pretty well there is we're exceeding basically a good majority of it, but mainly probably because of the ATM being overlit. We were discussing and we're working with our photometric designer. Our intent is to meet the ordinance. So I don't believe that the waiver will be necessary anymore. And then this is an excerpt from the staff report for the development plan. Essentially what Paul had mentioned there is they're recommending approval with the following conditions. Our intent as well is to provide a revised landscape plan to meet the ordinance. So we're still in the works of that. And here is the recommendation for the staff report for the minor plat. Like to thank Paul and Linda. You guys helped us through answering questions and providing guidance. Appreciate that. So if you guys have any questions or anyone else does, we'll do our best to answer them.
Thank you. Is there anybody who would like to step forward to speak against this petition? Okay, I'm assuming there's no need for remonstration or for rebuttal, rather.
I thought you had mentioned 2%.
Pardon?
Didn't you mention at the beginning of the meeting that there were 2 signed up for Chase?
They're signed up in support, Ken Colliander and Amy Ferguson.
Okay. Would those persons like to come and step up and speak in support of this petition?
Amy Ferguson, the Architects Partnership, 680 North Lakeshore Drive, Chicago, Illinois. I wholeheartedly support this. We are actively working with our photometrics expert to bring down the lighting levels to comply. In general, it's Chase's stance to have a minimum foot candle level of 2 foot candles. So this is a little lower than what they feel is safe, but we've worked with their security personnel that manages this area and gotten their permission to bring the light levels down so that we can be in compliance with the ordinance.
Okay. Anybody else who'd like to speak in support?
Hi. My name is Ken Colliander. I'm with Chase Bank, 10 South Dearborn, Chicago, which I think you have. We look forward to hopefully tearing this building down and giving you something a little bit newer than something that was built in 1979, so 46 years ago. It's time we bank differently. If you remember back then, how were people paid? Paper check on a Friday. They went to the banks, went through the drive-through, waited in line, cashed your check, move on. So over the last 46 years, we don't do that anymore. We're using ATMs. We're using ATMs less. So in another 46 years, who knows how we're going to be banking, but we're evolving. We're all evolving. So it's time that we change. And hopefully we can get this going with your approval tonight. So thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else who'd like to speak for or against this petition? Okay. Public hearing section is closed on this. Discussion. Actually, I do have a question for the petitioner, and perhaps you would be the one to answer this. So I see that it's just ATM lines. I can tell you, I go through the drive-through and make deposits just in my business at least once a week, but it's the nature of my business. So, but you're just saying that banking is changing, which no longer requires the putting the stuff in the tube and setting it forward. Matter of fact, I just asked for deposit slips today, so.
Yeah, that's correct. And if you think about it, you can use your phone to take deposit checks.
Mm-hmm.
So this new location is what we deem a financial center. There's not going to be a manned or drive-up window. So it's just those 2 ATMs. If you want to deposit something or do a withdrawal inside the branch, if you can't do it at the machine, you can probably do it at the ATMs. But if you want to go inside, you can still do that. There will be teller windows inside.
Okay. Discussion.
Well, I think it was helpful to hear what Chase's recommendation for parking. That's why the design came in so hot, that you recommend 2. And so our ordinance is different. I'm glad to hear that we're working together to figure that out. But that does give perspective of why this is different than.
Which I guess raises, are you withdrawing the request for the waiver? Yes. Okay, so we do not need to vote on the waiver. That's being withdrawn. Okay.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Further conversation?
I do like the update. I think it's a good design. I think it's a much, and I'm glad that it is adapting to what banking is, but still keeping a presence in the community, because that's helpful too.
Yes. Any other comments, questions, memes? Okay, in that case, we'll entertain a motion. They have withdrawn the request for the waiver, so we go straight to the development plan review, correct? Mr. Taylor? Okay, so would anybody like to make a motion on this?
I move that we approve DPR 25-16 Chase Bank Avon Avenue, a development plan review to provide for a 3552 square foot bank building, drive-through ATM lanes, surface parking, and related improvements, subject to the conditions listed in the staff report, since it has satisfied all the requirements for a development plan review under state law and subject to the approved findings of fact.
You have a second?
I'll second.
Having heard a motion and a second, we'll now take a vote.
Reed,
4.
Kaufman, Ransberg,
4.
Guggenberger,
4.
Zuzen,
4.
Rockabran,
4.
Spencer.
4. Motion carries unanimously, and DPR 2516 is approved. And we now move on to related matter, MIP 2503.
Thank you again. MIP 2503 is a minor plat. It's requesting preliminary approval of a minor subdivision plat combining 3 existing lots totaling a little over an acre into one lot. This is the property we just talked about and the petitioner touched on a little bit in their presentation. So I can skip over a lot of the details here. This is the existing plat from back in the 70s, from a couple decades before Avon was incorporated. The property in question is lots 11 through 13 here on this plat. The town's UDO requires that these lots be consolidated into one plot, into one lot in order to build, in order to get a permit to build a new building, because we don't allow buildings to generally be built across platted lot lines. So that's what necessitated this request. This is the proposed plat. It's a little bit difficult to see, but again, it's the same property. It's just going to be taken from lots 11 through 13 in Avon Square Section 1 and turned into this one lot subdivision. No waivers have been requested. The preliminary plat appears to meet the requirements of the UDO. So for those reasons, we are recommending approval, subject to the 3 conditions that were in the staff report. Those are standard conditions that you see with pretty much any plat that comes before you. And I'd be happy to answer any questions you have on this.
Questions for staff? Questions for staff? No? Okay, petitioner can come forward again.
Yep, Chad Mays, Kimberly Horn Associates, 500 East 96th Street, Suite 300. As Paul mentioned, we're here to request the approval for the minor plat that was previously presented upon. So if you have any questions, just please let me know.
Okay. Is there anybody who would like to remonstrate against this petition? Anybody who would like to speak in support of this petition? Okay, public hearing portion of this agenda item is closed. Discussion?
I approve.
I mean, it makes sense.
It seems pretty clear cut. If the ordinances require the combination of the 3 plats to be able to build a building that's already sitting there, it makes sense to get everything, clean up the
Okay.
paperwork.
Does that meet our requirement for discussion, Mr. Taylor? Okay. Thank you. Okay, do we have a motion?
Sure, I'll move that we approve MIP 2503, replat of lots 11 through 13 in Avon Square, Section 1. Request to consolidate 3 lots totaling 1.17 acres into one lot, subject to the conditions listed in the staff report, since it has satisfied all the requirements for a minor plat under state law and subject to the approved findings of fact.
I'll second.
Having heard a motion and a second, we'll now vote.
Guggenberger,
4.
Zuzen,
4.
Rockabran,
4.
Spencer,
4.
Reed,
4.
Kaufman, Ransberg.
4. Motion carries. MIP 2503 is approved. And we now move on to our last agenda item, which is DPR 2517 Gibbs Park.
Okay. Gibbs Park Welcome Center and Administrative Building. This is on the southwest corner of Avon. The parcel is approximately a 20-acre piece of land. It's currently improved with a converted dwelling that the park, Hendricks County Parks, is using for administrative offices. Then it has some accessory agricultural structures and a silo on it. Again, it's 20 acres, but it's part of an overall 160 acres that's owned by Hendricks County Parks. Current zoning is agriculture. It's a request to provide for the construction of roughly 7,500 square foot park welcome center and administrative office building, surface parking, related improvements with no waivers requested. This is the southwest corner of town. The whole area here is the park. And then the area outlined in green is the portion we're talking about here. This isn't the best layout, but I put in this so you can see how the drive will connect to their existing drive within the park. There's not going to be a new curb cut onto the main thoroughfare. This is a somewhat blown up picture of the site plan showing the proposed building, parking, sidewalks, potential future parking area for buses to park, that sort of thing. The surrounding land uses are agriculture and residential. Park uses are considered appropriate, adjacent to residential uses. The comprehensive plan on the now former comprehensive plan recommend agricultural uses for the site. The new plan also recommends and has always recommended agricultural uses for the site. The request was reviewed to determine compliance with the items you see there on the screen, and they were all determined to be compliant, including the architectural requirements. This is the first building I've reviewed that has met architectural standards on the first review. So it was quite a surprise to find that. So
Did you give them a gold star?
and I think it's a very attractive building. So we're excited to see it, and we are recommending approval subject to our standard conditions. And I'd be happy to answer any questions you have.
So I do have a question. You said that this is currently zoned agricultural?
Correct.
Even though it's part of the park?
Correct. Parks are permitted use in the agricultural district.
Okay. Okay, never mind. I'm overthinking. Questions for staff? No? Okay, have the petitioner come forward. Congratulations on your gold star.
Thank you very much. So good evening. I am Ryan Lindley. I'm the superintendent of Hendricks County Parks. Our address is 8841 Gibbs Road, Danville, Indiana, 46122. It does have a Danville address. It's kind of bizarre if you ask that right off the bat. The postmaster assigned that, so there's some confusion, but want to repeat a lot of the things Linda said, so I will be brief. But the park board acquired this 140 acres in 2009. The park was opened July 21st of 2021. We originally had 140 acres. We acquired the remaining 20 acres last fall from the Gibbs family, and that is the site we're proposing to build this building. We are a nature-themed park department, as many county departments are through the state of Indiana. Right now, we have about 120,000 visitors to this park. I expect that to skyrocket. The facility itself, what am I doing wrong here? there we go. Site plan is this, so it's aesthetically pleasing, kind of continues our theme. It will come in on the main roadway in the park, as Linda said. The facility is about 7,600 square feet. Same elevations here. And then the facility will have offices for administrative staff, naturalist staff, and then we will have a reservable exhibition hall, which will be 1,500 square feet. There's the entrance leading to the exhibition hall. It will be a reservable facility. I would like to propose to our park board that that is a reduced fee for Hendricks County citizens. Outside of Hendricks County, we'll have to pay a little bit more. And that'll occupy about 99 to 100 people in the exhibition hall. That will lead out the back of the facility. And we will also have a classroom that can occupy around 30 folks. So that's where we will host our park board meetings at. And that will also be available to the citizens of our county on a reservable fee. So if this ultimately gets approved, it's going to enhance the community quality of life. Obviously, this area is growing tremendously. And then we would like to, we will be starting the bid process soon. This project, we would like to break ground next spring and hopefully be done next fall or winter. So with that, I don't know if there's any questions for me.
Thank you.
Great, thank you.
Is there anybody who would like to speak in support of this petition? Is there anybody who would like to speak to remonstrate against this petition? I'm assuming we need no rebuttal, so. Okay, public comment portion of this agenda item is closed. Discussion.
Seems to be very straightforward. Staff did a good job in covering it, in their report and describing it. It's nice that we have a submission that doesn't require any waivers, or doesn't even sound like there's a lot of long tedious discussions with petitioners. So appreciate the work between all parties there. So I think, definitely deserves our support.
I like the idea of there being another facility for public community that the public can use. So that's nice. And that's a nice park. Gibbs Park is a nice park. Any further discussion or questions?
You had a question about, in discussion about, so what comes to my mind is we got a rural agricultural area that now has a huge parking lot in it. Is there discussion about light? I assume it meets the ordinance, but are there other controls you can put in place to reduce light pollution in a generally residential or general agricultural area? Or what is the lighting of that area, even the park during in the evening? I've not been out there at night. Is this going to be like a bright shining beacon on the corner of this property?
Well, I did review the plan for lighting compliance, and it does have, it has almost 0 foot candles at the property boundary. So
Okay.
spillage off the property is not an issue. The light itself around the building meets the standard of the ordinance. So you will be able to see it. It's still going to be lit up, but it does comply with, and we have a higher standard if you're adjacent to residential than if you're adjacent to commercial, and they do meet that.
Okay. Thank you.
Any further discussion, comments? In that case, we'll entertain a motion.
I move that we approve DPR 25-17 Gibbs Park Welcome Center, a development plan review to provide for a 7559 square foot welcome center and administrative building with surface parking and related improvements, subject to the conditions in the staff report, since it has satisfied all the requirements for a development plan review under state law and subject to the approved findings of fact.
I'll second.
Having had a motion and a second, we'll now take a vote.
Reed,
4.
Spencer,
4.
Rockabrand,
4.
Ransberg,
4.
Kaufman, Guckenberger,
4.
Zuzen,
4.
Motion carries unanimously. DPR 2517 is approved. Is there any other business? Committee reports.
Redevelopment met just last Monday. In addition to our invoice approvals, we had Greg Garrett in to discuss the TIF districts with his annual report, and also utility relocation agreement for Dan Jones Phase 3 with AT&T, and also Resolution 2025-06 authorizing the acquisition of right-of-way for County Road 525 East.
Okay. BZA? I was not there, so.
I'll look for help from my friends here because it was before yesterday or after, yeah, so.
You slept in this.
Yeah, there was one case on the BZA docket last week, which was approved. It was a variance to allow for an accessory building behind an existing duplex, but that happened to be zoned commercial. So it required a variance to do what normally would be allowed if it were zoned appropriately.
Okay. Anything from the town council?
Nothing to report.
Okay. Is there anything else for the good of the order? In that case, we are adjourned.